All right, Haley, I'm so happy to be here with you today.
Same with
Haley
you.
pushing me a little bit to video and answer some questions about why I created the group program for SILII, my corporate leadership development program for mid to senior level female professionals. And you
Yeah,
are my right hand. I could not do anything without you. So thank you for pushing me. But I'm going to let you ask the questions. I thought I would just do a brief intro.
awesome. Yeah, so my first question is, I know SILI has had kind of like a long history with the acronym. So just wondering if you kind of walk through how SILI came to be what it is today and how the acronym has kind of made its way into the program and how it kind of defines it.
Yeah, I think I thought about SILII, you were probably with me like a year and a half ago, because my brand is very much say it like it is. I'm a very direct communicator. I was in my corporate career. I am as a coach. I am in my life. And the one thing in the program that we do is we do a module on character strengths. And one of my strongest character strengths is humor. And so I think when I was sitting at my desk one day, I remember thinking, say it like it is, SILI. And I thought it was a good juxtaposition of using my brand of say it like it is with humor, because I do think that corporate professionals think there can't be a lot of fun. Like if we're having fun, we must not be doing it right. When I think the opposite is true. And when I wrote my book, Unsuccessfully Successful, I did a whole section that I did some research on, not just Google, like I did some actual research. And companies that have more fun are more profitable. Like there's business cases for having more fun at work.
Yeah, I believe it. Have you seen that effect on the participants in SILI? Like, have you seen are there any examples of participants that you've seen kind of bring that levity into their lives and how that's impacted them at work and in life?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So the short answer is I see changes in everybody that goes through the program. Levity is a particular thing for me, which is humor. What I think most of the women in the program that come into, either they're selected from their corporate environments or they're paying for the program one-on-one. But in any case, they know that they want to level up. They know that they're taking too much responsibility on. They know that they feel guilty all the time. They struggle with work-life balance. They struggle with being liked. They struggle with what ifs. What if I say this, people will think that. Like salary negotiations, for instance, like if you're getting a new job and you get an offer, a lot of women don't want to use that as negotiation, for instance. It's an offer is negotiation. But you'll hear from
Yeah.
women, well, if I ask for more money, they're not going to like me when I come on board. Said no man ever. So I
True.
don't know that I see necessarily levity, but I see changes. I see that
Yeah.
they realize that they carry the weight of the world and it's not necessary.
Yeah.
And that actually lightness helps you propel forward, that you're
Yeah.
carrying a lot of that with you into your everyday life. You're clenched, you take everything very seriously. If you can bring some more ease into it, you will do better in your job. That doesn't mean
Yeah,
there's not stress.
definitely. So you kind of touched on some things, but I'm just wondering, are there any other specific ways that you've tailored this program to be really focused on the issues that female leaders face?
Yeah, I think first of all, yes, for sure, because I do
Yeah.
an intake. So we find out in advance what your issues are and what you want to get out of the program.
Yeah.
I will tell you that the program, and I think you asked this question later, thank you for sending them to me in advance so I can be semi-prepared. It is a mixture of hard and soft skills. So we have modules like vision and goal setting, which is very pragmatic, and time management. But we also have, do you know what holds you back, which is a little like more nebulous and a softer skill that we
Yeah.
don't always pay attention to. But um, so I like the program that it has both, but you were in the last cohort and I went off script, which I tend to do. And I decided to do a breathing and guided meditation exercise. We had some time and I do it with my one-on-one clients. And just seeing the looks on the women's faces at the end and the relief that they got from doing the guided meditation, which I don't want to share too much about. That's super powerful. And that's not something that if I brought into a corporate environment that I would have a CEO go, oh yes, do the guided meditation and the breathing exercises. You know, that's like taboo, you know, breathing, maybe not, but it's not something that I think corporate cultures necessarily endorse or believe they need. But when you have a senior professional learn how to breathe through stress as opposed to work through stress, you get a better end product.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like what's coming up is just that, you know, there's like corporate leadership development like tools that, you know, can be kind of cut and paste like for anyone in large groups. So, you know, training sessions and stuff like that. But I feel like, especially having been in the program, what's unique that you provide is, you know, you create like an intimacy in the room that is kind of, I feel like, rare for, you know, a corporate development type program, if that makes sense. Like you create, you know, they come in thinking they're going to get this career growth, but then they end up probably in things like the meditation, like you shared, like getting this really like intimate self-reflection that they may not have even anticipated.
Right. Thank you, by the way. But that's the environment that I try to create is intimacy and a safe space, and everybody uses. I actually think the term safe space is well overused in corporate, right? Like logical safety is overused. Because how safe can you feel in a company that can lay you off and fire you? You know, and there are a lot of layoffs going on right now. That doesn't mean that companies don't have good intentions. So this is not me, but there is some barrier on they pay me. So I do try to create a sense of community with breakout groups so the women can get to know each other. They build their own hype squad or network from the group. And we do see that. And I think women really crave, and men may too, women really crave community. And it's always shocking to me by the second or third session that the women realize, wow, I'm not the only one going through this. Because when you're in your worst moments, even though you're presenting as your best self, you think you're alone in those thinking like, I must not be good enough. They're going to figure me out. That's why I added the imposter syndrome workshop. But it's even beyond just imposter syndrome. It's just like, it's a lot to be a working professional with kids, without kids. There are a lot of societal expectations, and women carry all of that. And I think what we try to do in the program, as you said, is we try to shed some of that.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of touching on that idea of community, is there anything that you feel like differentiates SILII in the way that you build that community, or just kind of the community that naturally gets built with the powerful women within it?
You know, I think there are no accidents about who shows up in the program. So I think there's like a shared sense of community even after the first session, and then you add the breakouts. Do I want to say that I facilitate it? Yes, because but it's the personalities that gel together. And the one thing that I think about my program that I've seen work is not just the intimacy, but if I sense somebody's struggling and they're not comfortable, maybe in a group setting, I have office hours. I'll reach out one-on-one, and I very often will do one-on-one sessions with people that are participating. That's part of the VIP program that you can get additional sessions with me in Voxer. But even if not, if someone's having a particularly tough time and you can see that pretty quickly, I will reach out and make sure that I'm taking care of that person. Because it's important to me that the program works. It's more important to me that the person feels good about themselves, program or not.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So kind of going into more of the details of the program, could you kind of walk through what the modules are and any that might stand out as something that differentiates SILII?
Yeah, so I think the reason this works is because there's a mixture of the hard and soft, but if I had to pick one module, and this gets rated high every time, we do the 7 levels of high performance leadership, which is really the energy levels. And the way I talk about that is it gives us sort of an infrastructure for how you're behaving, how you, like if you're angry, how does that affect the people around you? If you go in with a win-win attitude, how does that affect the people around you? Same situation, we look at multiple different ways. And once you have that language, you have more choices. So as I say in corporate, like, there's a lot of us and them in corporate, like it's their fault. There's some finger pointing, not at all companies, but let's just say in some of the companies that I've worked at, a little bit of finger pointing. Like I worked in an ad agency. So if you missed a deadline, that made me miss a deadline with my client. So there's all this downstream. But you can either get angry about it and try to win, or you can try to figure out a solution and a way forward. And I think giving people different ways to handle the same situation makes people in the program, and you are included, realize, wow, I have more choices. I don't just have to be angry and right. I can be collaborative. I can be caring. I can be look for the win-win. I can look for the learning. And when you're really in the depths of not being happy, you very rarely see other perspectives. So that particular module, I think I could teach every day, all day. And I think people really like, it feels like the most aha moments in that module.
Yeah.
What do
Yeah,
you
I
think?
definitely,
Having
I
yeah,
agree. Yeah. I feel like, especially if you're dealing with, anything from like burnout to even like workaholism or imposter syndrome or any of those things that kind of, plague you, it's like it becomes very black and white. And I think, yeah, just opening up that lens is something that, especially if you're feeling that overwhelm and you're just trying to get through the day, it's like you do forget how much choice you have, and that I feel like even when you see choice normally, you still see like this or that, and like opening up to realize there's endless choices
more.
really is really powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. And you and I know
And I
it
think
through
it's
some
things that
training.
people don't really realize in general.
Yeah. I mean, it was
Yeah.
eye-opening for me when I went through my training, but like I will have clients, I have lots of clients, and one of them is going through getting an offer. So instead of sending the offer tomorrow, they want to talk to him on the phone and review the offer. And he
Yeah.
said, should I look at that as a problem? We're always trying to look at the negative, like what could possibly go wrong is naturally how
Yeah.
our brains work. And I
Yeah.
said,
Survival
great.
response.
How about they want to make sure you understand the offer because it might be complex with shares and whatever. But that's not something you normally think about. You're looking for the worst possible outcome. So one thing we
Yeah.
really focus on the program is what's the best possible? Why don't we work from a space more like what's the best possible outcome, not the worst
Yeah.
possible outcome? And that changes your whole mindset. And like when I texted him that on today, he's like, oh, okay. But our brain always wants to create safety. And, sometimes that just blinds us to their other opportunities. And he's getting the offer. Like there's no question he's
Yeah.
getting the offer. They just didn't want to send it to him. They wanted to review with him. That's beautiful. I'm so happy when companies take the extra time to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But
I feel like,
even in a scenario like that, the brain still wants to find a worst possible outcome.
yeah. And I feel like creating the safety within SILII of just like bringing in different professionals from different spaces into one kind of, I feel like is in and of itself a way to kind of retrain the brain to realize that like, it's not always me against them. Like, you know what I mean? It creates that kind
Yeah.
of counteracting the individualism and like that fear of like everyone around you being a threat that I feel like sometimes happens.
Yeah, well, it is. We're all prone
Yeah.
to just keeping ourselves safe. I think you brought
Yeah.
up a really good point, Haley, too, is that with social media, with people working at home, with texting, with Teams, with Slack, there's a lot of communication that doesn't happen like this, eye to eye.
Yeah.
And, I think a lot more misinterpretations. So I think
Yeah.
you brought up, so one thing we definitely focus on is communication.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely super
So
important.
that was a good point. Thank you.
Let's see, what was I going to ask next? So I guess I'm kind of going in a random order, but for you, what's kind of the most rewarding part about teaching SILII?
Well, I love being in a community of strong, powerful women. I love that. I think we all learn from each other. Even though I'm the facilitator, I learn as much from the participants as they learn from me. Maybe it's a little off balance, but yeah, I do learn a lot. And just hearing the dialogue between them and when they give each other advice, oh, that happened, like it's awesome. And their
Yeah.
perceptions when we go through each of the modules together and the learnings,
Yeah.
awesome. But my favorite part of the program is when We have the participants on the last session, we present them a slide and, you set some goals, some accomplishments and some, how you're going to take this forward. Because the reality is we take a lot of courses over our lifetime and how much sticks with you. And the key for me is I want this to something to stay with you.
Yeah.
So when the participants actually present, I usually am in tears because to see the growth over a 7-week, 8-week period it fills my heart and in ways that I didn't know that I could expand that far.
Yeah. Yeah. Has it ever been, during that portion of the program, have you ever been surprised by anything that anyone's kind of come back and said? I know this is kind of off course, but
No. I like that question. I want to say no,
yeah.
but I don't think that's true. So no, because if I'm, week to week, we see growth, right?
Yeah.
But there was one woman who on the second session, and I don't want to give her up, but it just popped into my head. She was pretty negative. And I did the guided meditation was part of the program. So I did it either on the second or third session. And this was a while ago. I've done it 10 times now. So she, and everybody was feeling good. And she goes, oh my God, I hated it. And it really freaked me out. And it really brought up some really bad memories for me because I just lost my husband. And everybody was like, whoa. And I let that in and I said, I'm so sorry that you had that experience,
Yeah.
And by the end of the session, the program, she was freer. She wasn't so like, that was like her emotion saying that. And that was all fair. All emotions are fair. But
yeah.
she just was lighter. And that came across to everybody by the last session. And so it was surprising to see that level of transformation in her. And it was beautiful for all of us to witness, not just me.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
Yeah. It sounds
mostly
like
for her.
yeah. It sounds like she had like a protective barrier that she had to really like get through to get to the other side. That is powerful. And I feel like, yeah,
It was
it
really,
really shows the walls that we put up and how hard
and then
sometimes we
when
have
she
to push to
told
get
us her
them.
husband had died, and that made sense that she was going through this shell, to protect
Yeah.
herself. But the growth that she showed was amazing. And just, I want to say, in the past, if I had run this program and she had given that feedback to us, I might have taken that personally, but it wasn't personal. It wasn't that she was saying the program was horrible, which is where my brain would have gone pre-coaching. Any sort of
Yeah.
feedback I got about this, I probably would have been like, oh, they didn't make the program. But it was just, she was going through
Yeah.
something personally. So one of the keys in the program, as you know, is quit taking it personally, because we take so much in life personally. What else could be going on here? And
Yeah.
so she taught me a lot also. And so I learned a lot from that experience. And I'm so grateful that she is in such a good place today.
Yeah. That is a powerful transformation. So if there's anyone listening that maybe is thinking about joining, but is hesitant, what would you offer to them?
First of all, I want to make sure the program's right for the people that attend. So, if you have any questions, obviously, I want you to check with me first. I think the best outcomes are when people want to be someplace. So that's one. And two, if you are in the program, you will change. Not just because of me, but because of all the women that you're with and the material that we provide. And we ask a lot of questions. And we ask a lot of you to be present, to really understand how you are the architect of your own life. And you're much more in control than you realize. Some days I think working women feel like they have no control, but there are areas that they do. Their schedule, their emotions, their time. You can control a lot of that or manage it better than you are today. So I would say you'll have fun, you'll change, you'll learn, and you'll grow. And is there anything better than that? And you'll have fun.
Right. Nothing better than that. So let's talk a bit about the logistics of it. So could you talk a bit more about next steps, maybe the
Yes, I will.
timeline?
So, yep, thanks.
Yeah.
So I moved the date till March 6th, and I've played with the format of this several times, as you know. The last program I did was over 4 months, but I felt like it just was too much time. So I went back to the original model of twice a week. 75 minutes for the first session on Wednesdays. I do it on Eastern time. I do it at lunch, not that anyone takes lunch anymore. So I try to minimally impact your work schedule. And then on Fridays, we do an hour session. Wednesdays are material, breakout groups, discussion. Fridays are celebration Fridays. I won't give too much away about that. A discussion about the material. If there are any questions about the homework, very little homework, but there is some. And live coaching. So if you're in the program and you want to see what it's like to work with a coach, we give you opportunities to present your challenges. And then not only do I live coach you, you get some feedback from the group. So that's been super powerful.
What would
So
you say
twice
to someone?
or
Yeah.
7 weeks. Sorry.
What would you
I had to
say
make
to
sure I went
someone
back to the
who's
original question.
what would you say to someone who is you know, considering, but their argument is that they don't have enough time? Do you have anything specific to say with that?
If you can't make time for yourself for 7 weeks during supposed lunch hours, I think there's a lot more. And
Yeah.
I respect that. Like if it's tax season and you know you can't do April, like I understand. But we try to make it, and we record all the sessions so that you can watch the sessions afterwards. Do I think it's better to participate live? Yes. Do I think you will miss a session or two? Yes. And if you had to miss the Friday sessions, even though I think there's so much growth in the Friday, the Wednesdays are when we present the material. So I think you can find a way for 7 weeks to come to the program.
Could you talk a bit about the VIP option that you have?
So what I found is a lot of women during the program also wanted one-on-one coaching. So I've offered VIP. So the regular is, you know, we have a community, you can ask questions, I'm available. The VIP offers 2 private one-on-one coaching sessions during the program, likely during the program. And then also an app called Voxer where we can talk to each other back and forth pretty much as often as you want, not on Sundays. You might be going into a meeting, a performance review, and it really, I work on Voxer with all my clients, and it's a really powerful tool to have that sort of access to each other.
Definitely. Awesome. Is there anything else that I didn't touch upon that you want to add about SILII?
I feel like I've learned a lot and grown a lot over the 4 years that I've done SILII, and I'm always open. I always do a survey at the end. I always take the feedback to heart, and I will continue to evolve the program. But right now, I'm really happy with the format, and it's amazing to watch women grow, and I'm so honored to be able to do this work.
Awesome. I guess my last kind of closing thing that I'm adding in is regardless of whether the people watching this end up becoming a part of SILII, is there any like advice or words of wisdom that you want to leave them with?
That's a good. Well, first of all, if they don't want to be, if the program's not right for them, I respect that. You can also do one-on-one coaching with me. You can also read my book, Unsuccessfully Successful, about being a workaholic, raising my 2 children, climbing the corporate ladder. I don't recommend the workaholic part at all. And that's about me, not about the company. I also have a bi-weekly newsletter that has some tips in it. So I guess my advice is being stuck is a choice. Getting unstuck is also a choice. And so if you're not happy with the current makeup of your life, you have the power to change it at any minute.
That's powerful.